When you were down, they made fun of you, but they didn't know that when shattered parts are in God's hands, they may become works of art that frighten the adversary. Listen carefully. Chosen one, they labeled you a fool, made fun of your aspirations, and claimed you would never find love. When they saw you, they saw someone weak, someone they could approach, and someone they believed would never get back up. They thought the narrative was ended, so they humiliated you, rejected you, and abandoned you in the wreckage. They used phrases that were intended to demolish your hope and break your soul like weapons. They believed they were correct. Who could love someone like you? After all, when you weren't there, they muttered that after calling you stupid, blind, and naive, they laughed and left you to pick up the broken pieces of your heart by yourself. However, they were unaware that God started his greatest work in the exact ashes they left you in. He strengthened what they attempted to destroy. Your narrative was just getting started, even though they believed it was over because they were blind to what heaven already knew. They made fun of you. They were unable to view the crown, but they could see the scars. They saw the rejection, but they were blind to the divine shield that surrounded you. They didn't understand that being chosen in a test, being indestructible, but they saw someone they could destroy, and to the chosen one, thank you. Yes, you. This divine mission is fueled by your presence and extraordinary abilities. Press like, subscribe, and leave 77 in the comments if you're prepared to emerge. From the ashes, claim your God approved love and take the next step. Now let's get started. Let me remind you, chosen one, you are God's chosen one, and he has been watching you the whole time. God gathered every tear you shed, recorded every insult you received, and chuckled when they questioned you because he knew what was about to happen. You see, being selected is a calling, not simply a title. It's a brightness so dazzling that it may blind your adversaries. This power is so deep that it causes people to become restless. You were never defeated despite their self-perception. To the contrary, you were getting ready. They believed that their rejection would bury you, but in reality, it was God's way of guiding you. God used their taunts to help you grow. God was separating you for something bigger, not abandonment, which is why you felt alone. They assumed you would remain down, but they failed to realize that being chosen entails that heaven itself would always lift you back up once you fall. Your triumph was being written in heaven. Every time they laughed, God was laying the groundwork for them to witness. You enter the love story he has been planning for you. Each time they labeled you stupid, the adversary is afraid of you. Chosen one, they made fun of you because they were afraid of what you may become into. Because hope is hazardous to them, they attempted to crush yours. They wanted you to accept the falsehoods. They told you that you were worthless, that you were not good enough, and that you would never find love. They will never acknowledge it. But let me tell you this, the only reason they flung stones at you was because they were unable to cope with the light that shines through you. They simply left you in ruins because they knew their falsehoods would be exposed if you ever realized your value. And now you're about to enter a love so strong that it will quiet all of your skeptics and disprove all they said against you. God has given his approval for your true love to arrive. Chosen one, no one, not even your adversaries, can halt this divine move, which is more than simply a love tale. The love that they said didn't exist and that you would never experience is already recorded in heaven, approved by God, and en route to you. They believed that your tale would be defined by their rejection, but God had already decided how it would conclude. And here's a spoiler alert: you win. The adversary believed that you were vanquished, but they failed to remember that God always has the last say. Now is the moment for you to awaken and enter the love that was always intended for you. They chuckled, but they will now observe they had their doubts, but now they will know. Being selected is about walking in glory that haunts those who attempt to kill you, not simply about surviving. Let's get started on this step by step. Now, believe me, you will have an irresistible want to persevere if you are indeed a chosen one. Every word in this sermon will have a profound spiritual impact on you. You don't want to miss this. So stay with me. First of all, heaven was watching as they made fun of you. True love comes in God's time, not yours. When it happens, all of the lies they have ever spoken about you are silenced. When you dared to dream of genuine love, they rolled their eyes and made fun of you. They refer to you as stupid for continuing to hope and for thinking that you were meant to be with someone. How could someone like you possibly be worthy of such love? They scoffed and spread doubt like poison with venomous murmurs. Did you not hear them? The subtle jabs, the hurtful comments disguised his laughs, the sympathy in their eyes, as if your fantasies were just hallucinations. They believed they understood you all, broken, unsophisticated, foolish, and yearning for an unattainable goal. Chosen one. Let me tell you something, though. Heaven was keeping an eye on you the whole time. Heaven maintained the score while they made fun of it. Behind the scenes, God was working out his plan for your life as they slung their insults and looked the other way. What they fail to see and comprehend is that divine timing is unaffected by their beliefs in paradise. Their words are meaningless. They believe that the rejection, treachery, and icy laughter would define you, but instead they refined you. However, I am aware of the questions that are bothering you, since they have also been bothering me. Why would they do this to me? Am I really unworthy? Was I truly so stupid to think I could find love when the world appears to be yelling responses that depress you? These questions weigh heavily. Listen up. Though you are not who they said you were, you are protected by God, you are selected, and you are covered. Furthermore, being selected is more than simply a gift. It is a fire that is fueled by the same storms that are supposed to put it out, you see. They weren't simply being harsh when they laughed. Fear was the cause. What the adversary cannot demolish, he constantly ridicules. They were uneasy when they saw your faith, optimism, and fortitude. They attempted to extinguish the light inside you that they were unable to comprehend. It goes like this. People make fun of things they lack the guts to believe in for themselves. They were unaware, however, that being selected entails an intangible kind of protection, auction. Heaven was battling for you while they were giggling. God was preparing the way for your ascension, even while they rejected you. Heaven heard them every time they muttered behind your back. In their presence, God's angel set a feast for you each time they had doubts about you. Keep in mind that their rejection never represented your value. It was an indication of God's rating. Chosen one, they weren't supposed to remain in your narrative. Their jeering and laughing were only background noise diversions designed to make you tremble. However, you remained upright, you persisted. Heaven will soon demonstrate to them what occurs when a chosen one rejects the deceptions of the adversary. Consider a potter taking clay, pressing, crushing, and spinning it until it seems to be a shapeless jumble. Didn't they leave you like that, crushed, shapeless, and ridiculed? They were unaware, however, that you were in the capable hands of the potter who creates masterpieces out of shattered clay. You were the gold being purified in the flame, but their laughing was the fire, and now they, blinded by your brightness, allow them to roll their eyes, chuckle, and undervalue you. God himself has approved and sealed the very love they said you would never find, and it is on its way. This is a divine love story, not just a human one, the type of love that causes their words to fall apart like ash. When it comes, they will realize what heaven has known all along, that you were always deserving, sufficient, and meant for great things. Remember this, chosen one, the world's rejection is meaningless. When heaven makes the decision, God's plan is similar to a river in that it carries you precisely where you need to go. What, while avoiding obstacles and carving a path through stone, what God has written for you cannot be stopped by mockery, rejection, or an adversary's plot. In addition to healing you, the love that is entering your life will cause the skeptics to reevaluate everything they have ever said, and they will realize that they were laughing at a plan they couldn't even begin to understand, not at you, when they see you rise. The biggest error made by the enemy was to underestimate the influence of being selected. They interpreted your silence as a sign of failure. They interpreted your patience as a sign of weakness, but they were unaware that God was at work. While you waited, the time has now arrived. True love is on its way, and it will be everything they said you'd never have, and more. Chosen one, you've already won. Stay with me, because the best is yet to come. Number 2, rejection was God's redirection. Rejection doesn't mean it's over. It means God is steering you to where you were always meant to be. They left you in ruins, didn't they? They laughed as you stumbled, as your heart shattered into pieces. They watched you cry, and maybe, just maybe, they even felt satisfied seeing you that way. You opened your heart, you gave your best, and still they walked away, and not just quietly. They walked away with smugness, as if their rejection of you was the ultimate proof that you were unworthy, unlovable, and disposable. You'll never be enough. Their action screamed, you'll never find the love you're searching for. Rejection has a way of leaving its mark. It whispers, lies to you in the dark. Maybe they were right. Maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe I am unworthy. Those thoughts creep in, don't they? They twist and pull, making you question your dreams, your faith, your value. They linger like shadows, threatening to smother the light of hope that's barely flickering inside of you. But listen to me. Chosen one. Rejection was never the end. It was the divine redirection of your life. They left you in ruins. But what they didn't realize is that God specializes in rebuilding from the rubble. Every rejection, every door slammed in your face, every tear you cried was part of a wider plan. They believed they crushed your soul, but God used the very weight of their rejection to strengthen you, to prepare you, and to steer you toward a love that is greater than anything you ever dreamed. They noticed your anguish and chuckled. They insulted your sensitivity, your optimism, your confidence in love. They believed you were silly to believe in such things. But what they didn't realize is that your sadness wasn't the end of the story. It was the narrative twist. They believed they had the last word, but God was only getting started. Rejection wasn't a punishment, it was protection. God wasn't letting you settle for less than what you deserve. He wasn't letting you create your life around individuals or circumstances that were never intended to be lasting. You see, every no you heard wasn't a failure. It wasn't because you weren't good enough. It was God's way of clearing the route for the yes that would alter everything. If you had remained in the locations where you were rejected, you would have missed the larger blessing waiting for you. Think of it this way. Rejection is like being detoured on the road. It's irritating in the moment, isn't it? It causes you to feel bewildered, perplexed, and even angry. However, you are blind to the fact that the path you were on ended at a dead end. You are being redirected by God to a better path, one that brings healing, love, and purpose. Chosen one, rejection is not the same as abandonment. It's alignment. Every aspect of your life is being brought into line with God's great purpose. They are discarding, but God is restoring tenfold. One day, those who treated you like an option and didn't understand your value will look at you and realize they lost something valuable. They didn't understand that God himself had chosen you, therefore they rejected you. Furthermore, no amount of rejection can change your destiny. once God has selected you. Keep in mind that those who left you were ill prepared to deal with the enormity of your transformation. Their rejection demonstrates their worth, not yours. You were never intended to become smaller in order to conform to their limited perspective of the world. God used their departure as a means of purging your life of everything that may obstruct the love He had planned for you. You were set aside, not thrown away. The coming love will restore what they attempted to take away from you. And this is the truth that will quiet all of the lies they told you. God redeems, not just fixes the locations where you were destroyed, are transformed into monuments of His glory. By Him, the love that is now en route to you is the same love that they claimed you would never discover. It is a heavenly appointment rather than just a human love. This kind of love will cause you to reflect on each rejection and give thanks to God for letting you through the doors that weren't intended for you. The rejection you experienced was never intended to define you. Chosen one, you were supposed to be refined by it. It has made you stronger. Now, what's more significant is that you've discovered who you are. God owns you, and He has unstoppable plans for you. Those who rejected you believe they were shattering you, but in reality, they were merely helping you reach your goals. God is transforming what they left in rubble into splendor, what they threw away. God is restoring, and the love that was thought to be unattainable, heaven has already given it its blessing, and it is on its way. Rejection marks the start of a greater tale, not its conclusion. Remain with me, selected. One, this is the next chapter, and it will disprove all of the skeptics they didn't think you were valuable. God names what they label worthless chosen. He is transforming what they threw away into something precious. They treated you as if you were worthless, as though your love, your hopes, and your emotions were worthless. They took advantage of you while it was convenient for them, then threw you away like trash from the previous day. The wealth you held within was ignored by them. You were only a convenience to them, something they could use when it was convenient and discard when it wasn't. They never paused to consider the consequences of their conduct. Why would they? They believed that you were interchangeable, that you would always be there, and that you weren't important enough to fight for. Furthermore, such kind of therapy causes scars. Let's face it, you start to question, am I really worthless? Is there anything in me that makes it so simple to ignore or walk away? If you allow them to, those questions may fester inside of you. They have the power to cause you to question God's promises as well as your own value and identity. But none of those falsehoods are real, chosen one. So let me stop you right there. In actuality, they were unable to see your value because they lacked the necessary skills. People will never appreciate your worth if they are unable to realize their own. They were too preoccupied with their own emptiness to see the gem inside you. Furthermore, the way that others treat you reveals more about them than it does about you. Their incapacity to see your value just reveals their own blindness, not your value. They were unaware that God doesn't create garbage. The universe's creator had personally built the exact heart. They disregarded the very soul. They rejected. God has selected you for a purpose much bigger than their limited perspective could ever completely understand. You are fearfully and wonderfully crafted. Heaven has always regarded you as a masterpiece, even if they may have tossed you aside. And what's hilarious about the works of art created by God, He enjoys taking what others would reject and transforming it into something so amazing that even your adversaries must stop and gaze. They saw you as if you were a cracked, worthless piece of pottery. However, let me remind you that when shattered, pottery is in God's hands, it becomes even more lovely. Kugi is a Japanese art form in which cracked Pottery is fixed with gold, including the cracks and imperfections into the pattern. The outcome, since it broke the piece's value, has increased even more. God is accomplishing just that in your life. He is using the gold of His love and purpose to mend what they shattered. He is turning what they tossed away into something so exquisite that its worth cannot be disputed. The way they treated you does not define you. Chosen one, your value is not determined by their hostility, rejection, or lack of appreciation for you. God always knew what humans couldn't see. He is now on the verge of making it public. He is transforming the locations where you felt abandoned into those where you would be most seen, what they left behind. God is uplifting. God is utilizing what they rejected as the basis for something remarkable. The nicest thing is that the love that is entering your life will make you realize how valuable you are. This isn't your typical love. God has been preparing you for this type of love all along. It's the kind of love that will cherish you in ways you've never known. Love is what will treat you like the priceless person you have always been. Not only will the person God is sending recognize your value, they will value it. They will love you the way that God intended, and you view you the way that heaven does. Don't allow their rejection or how they treat you cause you to lose sight of who you are. Chosen one, you're not garbage. You are never garbage. You are a gem. And gems are often kept concealed until the ideal moment. It doesn't imply it wasn't there. Just because they didn't perceive your value, it implies that they weren't deserving of it. They wouldn't have been able to bear the love and purpose that God has been preparing for by keeping you hidden and honing you. God is raising up what they put away. Keep in mind that the people who didn't realize your worth don't define you. The one who created you, the one who has been keeping watch over you, and the one who is now taking over to demonstrate to the world how important you are the ones who define you. And once this love enters your life, it will hush all of the uncertainties and disparaging remarks they claimed you were, but you're not. You have been selected, you are cherished, you are a priceless gem. Give them the impression that they have triumphed. Give them the impression that their treatment of you was justified, because when God shows you what He has been planning for you, people will realize that they walked away from a gem rather than rubbish, and the treasure they left behind, chosen one, is going to glow so brilliantly that it will cause blindness. Hold on to me. Your time will come.